This is definitely in the bloopers. 100%. I have a feeling.
Maybe. Yeah. After I add that bleep in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Take 23.
Take 23. Welcome to another edition of Waiting for It podcast. I'm Chris Huff.
And I'm Samantha Klessinger.
Today we're talking about our key takeaways with our two-part episode with Dr. Jenna.
Yeah, so I think the main takeaway that both you and I had is when Dr. Jenna was talking about the transition from the 2.5 loading dosage to the 5. And I think the reason why both of you and I both had that, like, not an aha moment, but like, oh, this makes sense, is because we get comments, questions asking all about 2.5, going to the 5. I'm not losing on the 5 anymore. I'm gaining, I'm plateauing. And so for her to really clarify and say that, hey, the 2.5 dosage is a loading dosage. Some of the weight that you probably lose on the dosage is going to be water weight. And so while you're transitioning to the 5, you're regaining some of that water weight. It's not a plateau. It doesn't mean that everything has kind of gone downhill. It's just a part of the process. And so for me, I think that was the biggest like thank you to her, because again, I know a lot of people get discouraged. So it's kind of just like working through and having the mindset going into this journey of the first 8 weeks, maybe you're going to have a lot of fluctuations, and that is okay to have. So I don't know if you want to add anything on top of that, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, so it's I thought it was a great way to explain what happens, because I mean, you and I both get awful lot of questions about, that they were on 2.5 for 4 weeks and didn't lose anything, when we know, and we try to explain that they really shouldn't expect anything during that first 4 weeks, no matter where they start, 2.5 or 5 or wherever. There really shouldn't be any expectations for the first 4 weeks, because they're just set up, right? So that next set, a lot of times some people will have lost during that period of time. They got lucky and they've lost, like you called it, water weight, or soft weight is what I call it. They've lost that, and then they get to the perceived plateau on 5, and they're like, what happened? So this does not work for me anymore. And I thought she gave a really brilliant response to that, and kind of laid out the map for what our expectations should be, which is 0 on 2.5 for the first 4 weeks, right? And then, like you said, when you get to the next 4 to 8 week period, you may have a perceived plateau because you've lost that water weight in the first. But what I really remember her saying that really kind of resonated with me was that it all evens out in the end. Yeah. So some people will lose early, and some people will lose later. So if you get to the 5 milligram 4 to 8 week period, and you don't lose any weight, it's really, I understood her to say it's almost like a body reset. Did you have that takeaway?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yep.
You did? Yeah, for me, it just felt like, okay, so we've lost all this water weight. Now and she had a description for that I can't recall exactly what it was called, but when you got to that next 4 week period, your body kind of resets at that point, and then you're not going to really lose much more than that until you get into the I guess that would be the 9th week and beyond, which is kind of true for me in some ways. Yeah. I mean, did you lose weight early on 2.5, Sam?
Yeah, so I lost, so the first 2 weeks I lost weight. The third week was the first week that I actually gained. And then there for a while I was losing, but then I think there was twice on the 5 milligram that I gained. So that's how the 2.5 to the 5 has
that fits. Yeah, that fits her narrative, what she was explaining, because I mean, I lost 5 pounds on 2.5, and I only lost 5 on 5 milligrams. And I was a little discouraged by that, but it sounds to me like I was pretty even paced. I mean, did you lose more on 2.5 than you lost on 5?
So since I was only on 3 weeks of the 2.5, I lost 7.8 pounds
right
on the 2.5. And then in the first 3 weeks of the 5, I lost, I think, 13 pounds. So that's kind of how I compared it.
Oh. Yeah.
But then ever since, so that's like 20 pounds in itself right there in the first, 6 weeks. But now I have kind of gone up, I've gone down. It's definitely starting to, I don't want to say slow down. That's not the right word I'm looking for, but it's not like the quick weight loss that it was in the beginning. Probably because I am replenishing and, my body's adjusting.
Right. It's the even out period that she described, because it all evens out in the end. It just depends on where you're going to lose your weight, early or late or in the middle or something like that. Like mine's been pretty even paced until I got to 7.5, and then I lost 12 pounds versus 5 on 5, 5 on 2.5. So I guess I got kind of lucky that mine was consistent, even though it felt very discouraging in the beginning, because I was seeing, again, we do this thing, we all do it, where we compare ourselves to others that were losing ridiculous amounts of weight, of soft weight or water weight early on. So interesting that your experience was, it sounds like yours was kind of consistent too. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sam had one of her pens freeze in a refrigerator in a hotel, which is why she said she only took 3 of the 2.5. So you got to graduate to 5 a week early.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
I checked in with my my medical provider, and so I asked her, what do I need to do? Because I actually was calling Eli Lilly to get my replacement pens. And I needed to know what dosage to get them in, if she was going to move me up to the 5 or keep me at the 2.5. So she was asking me about side effects, and I was telling her I haven't had any. And so she decided to move me up a week early. So.
Yeah. So that means that, okay, so you only took 3 of the 2.5. You took 4. Actually, you took
9 of the 5.
8, 9. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you got the extra shot that you got replenished from Eli Lilly was a 5, and then you didn't get a full box of it that time. You just got an extra pen, was it? Or
no? So the box, so replacement pens, when you get it from Eli Lilly, they actually send you 4 replacement pens. It's an entire box.
Okay.
So I took the first 5 dosage for week 4, and I was on additional like 2 months or 8 weeks on the 5 before I moved up to the 7.5. So it wasn't like 4 weeks on the 2.5, 4 weeks on the 5. The 7, I had an additional month on the 5 milligram.
Got it. Okay. So 3 weeks on the 2.5, 8 weeks on 5.
9.
9.
It's okay. Yes, 9. And then
That is so fun.
No, it's okay. My third dosage of the 7.5 was this past Friday. So.
Okay. Cool.
And then and then I'm waiting to hear back to see if I'm going to continue on the 7.5 or if I'm going to go up to the 10. We'll see.
What do you think you might do? Any idea? It just depends on after your conversation with your doctor.
Yeah, so part of me wants to go up to the 10. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see what she says. Awesome.
Well, very good. Yep. So I don't know, like, what I'm going to do with that, but that's another story. We're talking about Dr. Jenna, right? So
I know we're getting kind of sidetracked. It's okay.
Getting sidetracked, and that's fine. The other 2 things we talked about, a few other things, key takeaways. Do you remind me what the other one was?
Yeah. So when Dr. Jenna mentioned how really kind of 8 pounds a month is ideal weight loss, and anything over is what's considered excessive and not necessarily better, and not sustainable for like long-term weight loss. So I thought that was, again, a huge call out. And again, thank her so much for saying that, because again, comparison game, we always say it. People are tired of us of like saying, don't compare yourself, but it's the truth. And just because someone is losing 20 pounds a month does not mean that that's good weight loss. That might be too much. And even Dr. Spencer, when I have talked to him, he said that it comes to a point where it's like, we have to kind of wean people off because they are losing too much weight. And so we have to kind of go back in dosages to really kind of make sure that people aren't losing weight too fast. Because he's like, there is something called losing weight too fast. So that was a good key point there.
Yeah, I think, she said that healthy, just like you just said, healthy weight loss was 8 pounds, a month. So that's 2 pounds. So, I know you've probably had this too. There's plenty of weeks where we've lost more than that. Mm-hmm. And not that that's so concerning, but when it balances out to the end of the month for 8, that makes much more sense. But I mean, I know people that are losing way more than that. And it's just, and aren't happy about it, that are actually, not, thrilled about only losing, like 12 pounds that we
Right.
talked about, that I brought up. Several people have said to me, I've been on it for 3 weeks and I've only lost 12 pounds. And it's like, that's too much. But she also, it seemed to kind of counter that just a little bit by saying it's okay. And especially in that first month, if you lose a little bit more because of the water weight, which I thought was real interesting as well. So it's not as concerning early on if someone loses water weight like that and it's more than 8 pounds. But I think if it's consistently more than 8, would you agree that it seems like she had discouraged people from wanting to lose more than 8 a month on a regular basis, but that first month might be okay under certain circumstances. But again, talk to your doctor about all this stuff too.
Right.
But
For sure.
I think that's probably the importance of not graduating your doses too fast.
Mhm. And I think also when it comes to, again, trying to change your perspective. So maybe 1 month you lost 8 pounds, but then the next month you maybe only lost 6. So you're like, oh, I've only lost 14 pounds. But now if you break it down, 14 pounds in 2 months, that's 7 pounds each month. So it's kind of like reverse engineering it in a sense of like, let's take a look at the overall picture, not just this little snapshot, not that little snapshot, but like, what does the overall picture look like? So yes, maybe 2 weeks you didn't gain, but you have still been able to lose 10 pounds in 2 months. Like, celebrate it. Even if that's 5 pounds a
Yeah.
month, that is a win. A win is a win. However you want to look at it, a
It is
win
a
is a win. If the scale is not gaining or going in the direction that you don't want it to go, it's a win. Even if it's the exact same number that it was last week, it is a win, and you need to celebrate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it's been pointed out several times as well. And I can't remember if she said this specifically on our show, but that weight loss is kind of a seesaw back and forth like that.
Mhm.
So we've seen plenty of people at our level. I mean, we're pushing into the 15th week now that we've seen our own scale do this, as well as other people's, that it goes up, it goes down, as long as it's going, in the right direction regularly. It seems it's normal for it to go up, then down, and then go up a little bit, and then go further down. And it's just kind of part of the process, but it can be discouraging.
Well, yeah, like in the overall study was 72 weeks, right? So she's like, you're only in your
Yeah.
13th week by the time that episode launched. So she's like, you guys have like such a long way to go, which is very, very true. I know we all want the instant gratification, but it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a long walk, but it's going to be a great walk, and we're all going to get to the same destination. Just depends on when and how we do it.
Yeah. And I really liked her optimism about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That, we're lucky to have this type of technology, and it's only going to get better. And she's very optimistic, not only about that, but, she was very optimistic about this new generation of doctors who are showing interest in obesity. I actually recently spoke to someone I met who has just finished medical school, and he's doing some of his programs down in the Caribbean. And I was talking to him about that, and he agreed with that. He said there is a whole lot more interest in his generation of medical doctors that are coming up to the ranks who better understand obesity and better understand this technology even than doctors that are kind of just having to learn it, on the job training at this point.
Right. Yeah. I think it's great.
I thought it was also really interesting what she was saying about the patient interaction. She's not gotten as much feedback and all the communication that she gets from her patients. And I find this with my doctor too, is that I'm excited about emailing him and telling him that this is what's happened to me this month. And it's, in addition to me and my monthly checkups with him. Mm-hmm. So, do you want to expand on that, Samantha? Or?
Yeah. So I think when it comes, and just from my own personal experience, like I'm more communicative in my healthcare provider who prescribes me the medication. Absolutely. And I think for a lot of us, it's because it is the first time that we've actually had success with the medication, and we're actually being able to lose the weight. And it's kind of like you go out to dinner and the server brings you something and you hate it and you don't like it. You want to try something else, but you don't want to be rude to that server. So it's kind of like pleasing. Oh no, everything is fine. Like I'm good, but you're not really voicing like, yes, this is disgusting, or it's too cold, whatever the situation is. And so I think maybe sometimes we take that into our healthcare and we're not advocating for ourselves. And I can attest to that, because it's kind of like, well, how are you feeling on your depression medicine? It's like, I'm okay.
It's fine.
Other than like, no, like this isn't working for me. I need to find something else. So when it comes to something that is more positive, something that like we want to continue to have access to, I think that we're just in a space where we're advocating more. And so that's where kind of my experience and kind of my perception of it comes in, from like a patient's point of view, of maybe that's why we are, talking to our doctors more about the prescription, because we are just seeing such great success from it finally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's like, if you, just to expand on that just a little bit further, it's like we haven't really had anything that we would have wanted to contact our doctor about and to communicate more with our doctor about, because we, everything else that most of us have tried, obviously we wouldn't be here if it worked. So this is the first time where you're, if you're like me, it's like you're excited to just get on the horn and say, hey doc, this is what happened this month. It's kind of like, you won't believe it. And it goes back to that whole model that we talked about on episode 2 about, that dad's approval kind of thing. It's like, it's like, hey dad, look what happened. It's like you want that kind of feedback from him saying, oh my God, well, that's great. I'm so proud of you. But even if you don't quite get that, you're still kind of reporting good news, right? And so it just kind of, it's a feel good that we haven't had before with our doctors, that we always, like, if you're like me, I felt beat up by before, and very, diminished to talk about my weight to my doctor, because nothing was working. And now it is. And I want to talk about it nonstop.
Right. And do you think also, like, just having the community that we do have on social media encourages other people to actually have a conversation with their doctor and like tell them like, hey, what's going on? Because I know like there's comments, and I for sure know that you get these comments too, of like, hey, I'm experiencing this or whatever. Like, talk to your doctor. Like, that's what they're there for. Talk to them. But also, I think there's some people who I've had comments of like, hey, you inspired me to actually have a conversation with my doctor. I couldn't have done this without your information.
Don't you love that?
People come to you on that too, and like other creators on there. So I think that we as a community are helping patients with having the conversations. How do you have those conversations with your doctors? And advocating, like, yes, communicate with your doctors of what's going on. That way they can help you. That way they can hopefully help you with any kind of side effects that you might have. But yeah, I think to your point of like how it's like your dad's approval of, it's just more talking to somebody of something that is working rather than have a conversation with something that's not working.
Right.
So that is all of our key takeaways that we had with our discussion with Dr. Jenna. It's a short and sweet episode, but we just wanted to really be able to kind of echo what she was saying, and hopefully just make you guys feel more comfortable with where you are at in your journeys. I cannot talk. But what we would love for you to do is comment on our podcast and let us know what resonated with you most. What were your key takeaways from our conversations with Dr. Jenna? And what would you like to see on our next episode of our podcast? What are some topics that you want us to cover? What are some special guests that you want to have us bring onto the show? But we love and appreciate all of you so, so much. Please like, subscribe, and we'll definitely see you in the next episode.
Thanks so much. See you next time. Liking and subscribing to our content really helps us get the message out to people who truly need it.